So that last little test got the truck warm. It didn't pop out the cap, but it was coming out the overfill here. So I already tried blowing it out to see if that could keep it a little colder. It didn't. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna replace this radiator with a aluminum radiator. And another thing is I got some pretty bad cracks and it looks like they're only getting worse. So new shroud is gonna be going on. So between those two things, I think we got a day of work here. So I'll get this old one pulled out and I'll show you where the new one's coming out of. The radiator's coming out great. I only have one more bolt in the bottom here. The shroud did not come out great. It came out in 4 pieces. So it was all beat up and broke around. You can see the cracks there are dirty. So it is pretty brittle though. So it doesn't take much to break these. The one I'm putting in is out of a F350. And I believe this one's aftermarket. But holy crap, is this one a lot stronger, stout as all heck. So that's the top. That cutout's for the radiator hose up top. This is for the cutout on the bottom. So I'll get the aluminum radiator installed and then I'll get this shroud installed. Sold the radiator in the U-Haul truck. The radiator in this truck is here, which is in really nice shape. However, it's one of the old style copper brass ones, and I really think I need the cooling ability of this one here. So this is the circus truck. This is a V8 radiator. This has got the inline 6. So although this would do a really good job cooling this, I have no intention of ever using this inline 6. So thing's never even been hooked up. It's brand new. It's just going to be 4 bolts that come right out, and then we'll be able to get it in the other one. If it's not already obvious, it's a Chinese one, so that's all right though. It's going to do a good job. This is what I have in my F-150. Well, my dumbass just realized a huge mistake. Bottom hose is on the right, top hose is on the left. But when we look at this, it's inverted. The bottom hose needs to be over here. The top needs to be over here. So I don't even know what to say. So while the radiator is out of service, I need to take that home and weld it. That's where my welder is. I'm going to be working on new transmission filter and transmission fluid. So the C6 takes 12.75 quarts, but I'm thinking that with the filter change, it's only going to get about, I'm hoping only about 3 quarts, maybe only 2. So we'll see. I can always buy more, but gonna take the pan off now, take the filter off, take all the gaskets off, clean everything up, let it sit overnight, see how much I can pull out of there. Got all the bolts out of the pan. I ended up putting 1 bolt in back there and then 1 in over here. So hopefully I can catch most of this oil here. So just gonna give it some light taps with a rubber mallet. Got most of it. Uh-oh. What do I do there? So welding up the 2 ends, and then I drilled new holes for the top bung and the bottom over there. But welding them up now. Not overly happy with this new glass tip. Here, let me turn this off. It's the next day, so quite a fast forward. The radiator is in. I ended up taking off the clips, these U-bolts. They were just kind of hectic, so those are off. Now we got grade 8 hardware. Not that grade 8 is at all necessary, but I ended up welding in this 1-inch spacer, so you can see it's kind of spaced back another inch. And I did that because the shroud was not very covered by the fan. And so what I can do is I can put a block on the fan. I'll show you. I have one right over here.
In my junk bin, so.
Here's a spacer, so I can get this fan a lot closer to the actual radiator, but I just wanted to give myself a little bit more room between the radiator and the actual core. Probably wasn't necessary because I had this block, but the I'll get the shroud on and you'll see how spaced back that fan is. So if we want to try to use the fan, which I would really like to try to use this fan, we're going to have to get it a lot closer so that it creates a good draft through this aluminum radiator. So after that little spout, here's what we got welded on. I got a bung up here welded, and I have the bung down there welded. You can kind of see that. I welded a lip around this one so that the hose doesn't blow off. And then what else do I got? I got the transmission lines plumbed in. That the radiator here is a 1/4 inch pipe, and that adapter was a 1/8 inch pipe. So just a 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch coupler, and then I slightly bent the transmission lines. So I'll get the lines hooked up last because I want to get all the hoses on, get all the clamps on, and I got to pressure test the radiator, make sure that it's not going to bleed down somewhere. So I'll get this thing in there 100% and we'll go from there. Got everything hooked up. Here's my little kit I got going. So I'm going to pump this up right up to about 15. That's about the max I think my cap is set for. So so far it's holding steady at looks like 8. So okay, so that really wore me out. I would recommend a one that's not a hand pump, but maybe that's the only option. So I got it sitting right below the line, and it might be moving down. I have no idea where it's going to be leaking from. So I'm going to get a bottle of soapy water and just spray everything down. Main things I'm going to spray down are my welds, but also hose connections, things like that. So far I think it's holding pretty damn steady. Unfortunately, we have the smallest little leak. I can't even get it to bubble up much, but in that corner right there we have a small leak. So this one is going to have to be re-welded. So radiator needs to come out, be re-welded, and put back in. With the radiator out, you can see where the 2 leaks are. This one is actually in the crater, which I'm kind of surprised I don't really see it. So I'm going to just have to do a really good fill over that. And then this one is actually in the toe of the weld. It looks like it's actually kind of cracked. I don't know what the camera can pick up. Yeah, see that tiny crack in there? So some point or another, something must have happened as far as my heat input or something like that. So don't want to see that, but that's where it's leaking from. See if the camera can pick anything up here. No, I'm not really seeing anything. It looked like it was just foaming out of there, but it could be out of the corner right there. I'm not sure. Regardless, there's going to be a big ugly weld there and a big ugly weld there, and we're going to call it good. Okay, back working on the Bronco. Got the patch all welded up. I had it pressure tested. It's good to go. So now there's coolant in it. I wasn't able to fit the shroud in there, so what I'm going to have to do is take off the fan and install it. But getting the pan installed now. So got the new gasket greased up. And then we also got our new mufflers, HP2s. So I'm about to put the pan back on. And I bought a kit for the, with the filter and the gasket, but it doesn't have as long of a tube on it. And I like this tube because it has these prongs that keeps the pan from crushing up and destroying this little bit here. I don't think this comes out. I don't know for sure though. So looking at the filter, it's just a screen filter, and I think it looks just fine. So since this tube is going to get us lower than the other one is just this black piece, so it's almost an entire inch difference. This probably comes out, but the screen looks good, so I'm going to run the filter. They're a pain in the ass. This one has a nice filter, a nice gasket on it. So I'm just going to put the pan back on. I know it's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm going to clean that up a little better just with a scraper, but everything looks good despite pulling out that thrust washer. So I'm going to clean it up and get that pan on. So I've got the pan on, and if you're doing this to your own, just know it's such a pain in the ass. It's super hard to get the bolts under the cross member. You just have to use a swivel and just really be patient. It sucks. Doesn't matter which way you shake a stick at it. They are hard to get to. So those are in. Now I'm gonna fill it up with fluid. I'm gonna start with just 2 quarts down the dipstick. So what probably seemed like seconds to you was 4.5 hours to me. The lines, the coolant lines for the transmission were leaking, so I had to pull the exhaust to get at them, and I did a pretty piss poor job bending them. Not very proud of them, but that's just kind of the way it goes. So they're not touching anything. I did end up kinking this one a little bit, so I'm gonna try to bite it with the pliers and space it back out, but it sucks. Really sucks to have to redo these. It was a pain in the ass, but they're up there, they're on, and now I can finally put my new exhaust on. So I'll get the Flowmaster HP2s on, and then I gotta find a way to secure them. This is how it used to be here. I gotta see if I can somehow do that again. So I couldn't get a good read on the trans, but also I hadn't drove it, so really it's not being measured hot, so I'm not gonna add any right now. I ended up adding 3 quarts, which from what I read seems on the higher end for a oil and filter change. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna wrap up the exhaust, get it clamped on, get some turn down tips on there. I'm probably gonna have to end up doing a little bit of welding, but that's what I'm gonna do now, and then I'll take it for a drive, check the trans oil then. But I am just so happy with how this is turning out. I'm not a real big fan of Chinese parts on these American trucks, but this is a very good buy. I mean, this was free to me, but if you're looking at something like this, I would highly recommend an aluminum radiator. You just cannot compare the two. It's ridiculous. So I'll get the exhaust finished up right now. We've been sitting here idling for about 25 minutes. The coolant is absolutely perfect dead center. I thought that my sensor was gonna need to be replaced. I thought it was acting up, but this thing is right where I want it. So I'm gonna still try to get the shroud on, because I think it's just more of a safety concern than anything. But I am sucking air good. The motor is keeping itself cool. It's idling perfect. The mufflers are working just absolutely awesome. I'm having trouble reading the dipstick on the automatic transmission because it's throwing a little bit of oil up on the sides. So I'm gonna just keep waiting and just keep reading it, but I think it needs more fluid. I can't tell. The heart is literally shaking. That sounds so good. Oh my God, that sounds so much better. Oh my God. So happy with that purchase. After a long drive, I see my belt getting a bit loose on the steering pump, so I'll have to tighten that up when I get home. Doing a little bit of testing on the Bronco. We're keeping up on our temps really good. I'm really happy with the radiator. The transmission, however, here, I'll turn this off, seems to be giving me a little bit of problems. Constantly finding new leaks, retightening, re-cleaning, but I think it's just going to be a process of messing with it until I feel comfortable that it's going to be reliable. So right now I'm just driving along the fence line, looking at all the different stuff I'm going to need to clean up here this season. Got a bunch of mowing to do. So truck's being put to work still. We're adding miles to it. Right now we're at 23,801. So we're doing good. We're testing it out. So I'm just gonna keep on driving it, keep on fixing it. So that's what just about every video is gonna look like up until we take a trip. So I'll just be driving it, showing you driving it, and then breaking it and showing you fixing it. So I appreciate you sticking around. That's gonna be the end of this video. Thanks for watching.